Welcome to Aligned AF, real talk for evolving souls with Yahweh Kent. Join Yahweh for honest conversations on spiritual growth, the messiness of life, and how to move through it all at a higher frequency. So grab a cup of tea and let's sail in. This is Aligned AF, and here's Yahweh.
If you've ever been mad at your high self, you're not alone. Let's talk about why they're so damn frustrating and how to actually work with them instead of wanting to fight them in the parking lot. Welcome to Aligned AF, and let's have a real talk. All right, welcome. How's everybody doing? That was a little clunky. I was sort of goofing around with a new idea of having a little free, non-copyright music in there. Figured I'd give it a shot. Of course, those of you who are watching this on YouTube and see the video, you saw me actually going through the motions, so it was a little clunky. And, you know, this is my, fifth episode. I'm giving myself some grace here, folks. I wanna get to the point where it all goes, really well, really smooth. And that's not happening yet, and I'm okay with that. I'm sort of figuring things out as I go. So, welcome. I'm glad you joined me today. And I'm glad you joined me any day. And, I'm excited to dig a little deeper into a few things. I've got quite a list of possible episodes coming up. Many of them with interviews, which I'm really looking forward to trying out very, very soon. Then you guys don't have to just listen to me for 45 minutes or so. But let's get started, Today we're talking about our high selves. The actual title of the episode is, I Want to Meet My High Self and Knock 'em the Fuck Out. How many of us have felt that way? How many of us have felt that, that there's an answer out there, there's lots of answers out there, and why the hell can't I just get a yes or no when I ask a question? Why can't it just be even a little bit easier than what it seems some days? And there are those out there in the community that will say to you, you signed up for this, your high self has a plan, all that stuff. And you know what? I believe that. And sometimes I still wonder why the fuck it's so hard to get a straight answer out of not only spirit, not only the universe, but my high self is supposed to be me. Why am I putting myself through all this? So today I wanted to talk about all that and kind of not only identify some of the commonalities we're all going to have with dealing with high self energy, but also maybe some suggestions on how to deal with it, or at very least how to react differently to the whole idea of it. Our high self is supposed to be this all-knowing, peaceful, enlightened version of us. But, if we're talking real, sometimes it feels like they're just watching us struggle, sitting up there on the astral plane with a big old bowl of popcorn, just waiting to see what stupid ass thing we're going to do next. And I think they're having a good laugh, actually. And I think about that, and I actually take moments where I try to kind of put myself in the position of my high self. Would I handle it any differently? So here's a way of looking at that in humanness, in Muggle world. We grow up and we have these moments where we are maybe knocking heads with our parents. We've got, one thing in mind and they've got another thing in mind. And we know deep down that they're trying to protect us. But there are times where we have said to ourselves, when I grow up and when I have children, I'm going to let them do whatever they want, or I'm not going to treat them that way, or I'm going to give them the answers when they come to me. And then you grow up, and then you have kids, and then you realize that's not the right way to do it. You may shift out of some of the bad habits that your parents had, but you're not going to shift out of everything. Out of everything. And there are times as you grow, as you mature, that you realize the very best thing you can do for somebody is to let them do it on their own. Be there for them, support them if they fall, but giving people answers doesn't teach them anything. And that's kind of what we deal with when we're dealing with our high selves. So why does all that matter? Well, we're told constantly to trust the process, but sometimes the process sucks, Sometimes it's just a real pain in the ass. And we feel like no matter what we do, we're taking 2 steps back for every step forward. And that may very well be the case sometimes, but it's not forever. Those 2 steps back are important because I think it kind of teaches us that we're not ready to go running forward yet. Think about when you're a kid or when you're watching your kids as 1-year-olds, say, and they get standing on their first, balance, and they're giving it a shot, and they're hanging on the edge of the sofa, and, you're ready for them to like step off and just take those first steps. What you don't want them to do is to just take off running right away. It's not safe. They haven't got full control of their balance and full control of their little limbs. And so you want them to take the steps and then to take the little steps and to be careful. And you're there to catch them as best you can if they should fall. But you don't want them to just throw on some roller skates and head down the road before they're able to really truly work their way through these things. Well, that's kind of the way the high self is treating us. It knows that we want to be a certain place. It knows that we're frustrated, that we can't get from point A to point Z without going through the rest of the damn alphabet sometimes. But it's there for us still. And as frustrating as it seems to get, it's always there with support and answers if you're really paying attention. There are times when we're spiritually exhausted, and that leads to physical exhaustion, and we're just at the point where we want to shout out, I'm tired of this shit, just give me the answers. But that's not going to help us. So let's talk about our relationship with our high self. Some of the key understandings we need to remember when dealing with our high self is first of all just acknowledging why we have that connection, why we feel like there's a part of us out there that knows better and knows more. And that's part of our spiritual journey, where we start to come to terms with the idea that there is something out there that is me with it all figured out. I'm a firm believer that if I was someplace before I got here, I have to be someplace after I leave here. I don't believe that my mom and dad got together and conceived me and that was it, and that's how I came into creation. I believe that that's how this physical body came into creation, but I don't believe that my soul, my spirit, my true essence started there. I believe that it's been there, it was somewhere before, and it will be somewhere after I'm gone. That somewhere after I'm gone is my high self. And if I'm looking at it that way, then it's entirely possible that what I was before I got here was also my high self. And if that's the case, then the truth is I also am my high self. But what I've done is I've decided to have a human experience and fuck it all up. So that's us realizing we did something, realizing we made a choice, and trying to find our way back. And the water's cold and murky and muddy and full of weeds. But we can swim our way to shore. We can figure this out. So when we start looking at the relationship between ourselves and what we consider our high selves, let's first of all remember that there really is no separation there. But as human beings, we feel a separation because of what we consider the reality of what we're in this moment. And the high self aspect of us isn't in the physical, so it feels like a separation. But honestly, it's an imaginary separation. That doesn't mean realizing that is going to make it easy to just slap it all back together and say, I finally got it, I finally figured it out. Doesn't mean that by any means, because we've all lived a human experience for a very long time. So there's a lot of trauma attached to that, a lot of experiences attached to that, and a lot to unlearn, quite honestly. A lot of the limitations that not only were put on us as children, but we continued to put on ourselves. You know, where we're saying, I'm not going to be able to do that, that's beyond me, yada, yada, yada. All of that's there. So we see this enlightened aspect of ourselves as our high self. We see it as something outside of us sometimes, but it's not an outside entity. In fact, it's you. And it's just something in your future at this point, something that you're striving to get back to. It seems more evolved, it seems wiser, it seems far less dramatic than what we experience. I try to think of my high self as sort of my spiritual big brother or big sibling, to make it a little more generic. But quite honestly, sometimes instead of helping me to cheat on my math homework or skip a few steps in a process that I'm trying to do, they let me suffer through the bullshit. They let me suffer through the difficulties of trying to figure it all myself. And in the role of an older sibling, that makes sense to me. But in the role of the one who's experiencing the challenges, it sucks. And I just want somebody to take my hand and take the pencil from me and write down the fucking answers. We all feel like that sometimes. So why do we feel disconnected from that high self energy? Why do we feel like that's not who we are today, here and now? Other than the idea that we're having a physical experience with all this. Why doesn't the logic of that being me help me to come to terms with actually experiencing things as my high self? And that's because this version of me, this version that I've chosen, is still learning. There's a gap between us that, I've kind of created by making this choice. so that it's sort of like where I am now versus who I'm supposed to be. And that can be frustrating. It can be really, really challenging because we have this perfect idea of where we want to be and who we want to be and what we want to be. And we know that we can get there. We know that it's possible. We know that there's an aspect of us that's already there. Why can't I do it now? There are times where, it's really frustrating and it feels like you're kind of talking to your future self, but instead of getting straight answers, you're getting, a smirk that says, "Oh, you'll see," and that's fucking annoying and frustrating and exactly what an older sibling would do to you. So it's kind of like we take it upon, our high selves take it upon themselves to allow us to make those stupid mistakes. And there's no vindictiveness, there's no animosity in any of this stuff. No high self is purposely screwing with you just to watch you stumble and fall and getting a laugh out of it. That's not really what's happening. It truly, truly is that our high selves know we're not going to actually learn it unless we experience it. We don't learn anything. It's like your kid having trouble with subtraction. You can sit with them, you can teach them, you can help them understand it. But if all you do is give them the answers to their homework and send it back to school, they're not going to learn the subtraction. They're not getting anywhere. And when they have a test at school, they're going to fail it. Well, you and I, in this experience, are the kids that are having trouble with subtraction. And our high selves, who have the answers, know that if they just tell us, we're not going to learn from it. And a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, we're not going to be prepared for what's coming. So our high selves understand all that. And it's their job, basically, our high selves' job, to watch over us, take care of us, give us a nudge every once in a while, but to make damn sure we learn it. Remember, your high self is not better than you, okay? They're just us with, I don't know, fewer emotional meltdowns and a shitload less baggage. But they're still us. They're still a version of us that has figured out how to act, how not to react, and just how to deal with things in a much more spiritual, a much more enlightened, a much more peaceful way. So we have these frustrations. And we ask for messages. We meditate, we pray, whatever it might be, and we ask for help. We ask for messages, and we get cryptic shit like we see random feathers all the time, or we every time we look at a clock or our phone, it's 11:11 or 2:22 or 3:33. And then we're scrambling going, what does 11:11 mean? I see it all the time. Why do I always wake up at 3 a.m.? And why does a blue feather always appear to me on Tuesdays? And we're looking for these deep messages, and we're asking all these people and reading all these books and searching all this stuff on the internet for some deep message. And everywhere you go, you get a message, and everywhere you go, the message is a little bit different. And that just adds to our frustration. So what are these things? What are these moments of ambiguous, are they ambiguous? Or are they just, I don't know, fucking confusing messages? My opinion is that they're synchronicities. And experiencing synchronicities reminds us to trust our intuition. So if you're asking questions about your life, like when am I going to get a job that I love, or when am I going to meet the right person to spend my life with, or how can I be a better dad, and you're looking for answers with that, and all you're getting is, every time I look at my phone it's 2:22 or 3:33, what's that supposed to mean? Well, it's reminding you of synchronicity. It's reminding you that we're not going to tell you the damn answer, but if you trust your intuition, you're going to find it because it's right there. So all these little signals that we're getting, all these little messages that we're getting, are really just reminding us of synchronicity and reminding us of our intuition and how we can truly just relax, just breathe, and just trust the answers that come from within us. Nobody has to tell us the answers to these things because we've got the answers to these things. We've always had them. And now we've reached a point where we're striving to get back to that high self, that energetic being of who we really truly are. We're not our bodies. I'm not Matthew Kent. Hell, I'm not even Yahweh. I'm something completely different from that. My authentic self is something completely different from that. And we're striving to get back to that. And the synchronicities that we see throughout the day that we try to interpret as messages, when really maybe the message is as simple as pay attention. Just pay attention. Because it's all there. And if you're skipping over stuff, if you're constantly burying your head in something, trying to find some deep, dark secret that's supposed to be on page 147 of the first book you grabbed, maybe you don't have to dig that deep. Maybe you don't have to search in all those places. Maybe it's always been right there inside you. We refer to our high selves sometimes as spirit guides, and they tend to speak in riddles. They tend to give us these ambiguous ideas or answers that we're supposed to figure out instead of just giving us a damn yes or a no. And it can be really frustrating. I get that. Because they never give us a straight answer. You can even sit in meditation and ask for guidance, and you'll not get what you were expecting. Well, your first mistake is having any kind of expectation when you're dealing with spirit or your high self. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen because they don't live to fulfill your human needs. My high self, which is me, is not there to make everything come to me easily. It's there to remind me that I made this choice and that I have to work my way through it to get where I want to get back to, So, we sit and we pray and we ask for guidance. We go into a meditation maybe, and we have an intention. And then slowly, softly, we get nothing. Nothing at all. And we're frustrated. And we come out of it going, well, that was just awesome. I'll just figure it all out myself. Again, it's frustrating. But the truth is we're supposed to make our own damn choices in all this stuff. So nobody's ignoring us. Nobody's messing with us. Nobody's screwing around and, like I said earlier, sitting up in the ethers with a big bowl of popcorn wondering what the hell we're going to do next. Nobody's doing that to us. They're just allowing us to live the experience that we chose and figure our shit out ourselves. Those answers are already within us. And it's not that we're pretending that we don't know. There's a self-created separation, if you will, when we decided to have this physical experience. And, you know, growing up, starting out as babies, we're dependent on everybody for our well-being. I mean, right down to somebody's got to feed me, somebody's got to wipe my ass, and somebody's got to entertain me. And then we get a little older and we be able to feed ourselves, we be able to wipe our own butts, and we find we find that eventually we can entertain ourselves. And then we continue to have our lives, we continue to grow, we continue to kind of expand our thoughts out beyond our physical being. That's the fun part right there. That's the part that says, holy shit, there's more than just what's in here right now. You know, there's more out there. And that's what I want to learn about, because deep down inside, we know that's where I came from. And that's where I want to get back to. And why aren't you helping me to get there? You have to do the process. But part of growing up in the human experience is trying to get that instant gratification, you know, and that delayed gratification is, and it's just not cool, man. I don't want to wait for it. But we have to. You don't get everything you want the second you want it. It's not the way this choice works. There may be another choice out there where you do get instant gratification for anything you think. But at that point, when you've reached that level, is it really gratifying anymore? Or is it just part of existence? So you got to trust the process, okay? And you may say, well, what if I don't want to trust it? Okay, well, then you're going to be sitting still and getting nowhere for a while until you're ready to do it. And you don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to blindly trust that you're just going to get there and then do nothing. You take steps. You make, small progress. You take, a little step forward, and you may take a few steps back every once in a while, but you will begin to make progress. And you have to kind of come to terms with the idea that, it may very well be a 10-year process or a 20-year process or a lifetime process to get to where you want to be. But that's okay, because spiritual enlightenment isn't delivered by Amazon Prime. It doesn't just show up on your doorstep before the end of the day because you spent more than $25. It doesn't work that way. That instant gratification thing that we've kind of grown accustomed to, especially in our country, does not apply here. Does not apply here at all. Because it's growth. And growth takes time. And humanness is an example of that. Growth takes time. Anybody who grows too quickly actually has something wrong with their body, and their bodies don't last. I don't know what the term is for someone that grows old too quickly, but I know it's a condition, and I know that those people tend to die very, very young, because that's not the way it's supposed to be. And it's the same when you're with your spiritual experience. So sometimes it's going to feel like we're going through absolute chaos to learn these lessons, and there may even be times where you come to an answer of some kind and you think to yourself, I just went through all that just for this? But there's no just for this, okay? There's always more. And in order to get to the better place, if you want to call it that, in order to get to the spiritual level that you think you're striving for, you have to go through all of these smaller steps. And if any of them don't happen, then you're not going to get where you're supposed to go. You have to go through all of it. Every decision you make brings you forward in some small way. So just know, I kind of brought that up just to know that it's normal for you to feel frustrated. It's normal for you to say, I don't want anything to do with it anymore. I give up on spirit. It's normal, but I don't recommend it. It's not a good idea. If you need a break, take a break. But don't lose that connection, because you will find that things just aren't going the way you want them to go at all. One of the annoying truths of life is that pain creates expansion. It just does. Think about working out at the gym. You can go to the gym and you can just do the treadmill and you can really improve your health. You can work on your cardio and kind of tone up, things like that, keep your weight down, and that's great. Or you can really dig in. Let's say you're looking to put on some muscle and actually change your physical appearance in that way. That's gonna cost you some pain. It's going to cost you some effort, and the more you want out of something, the more effort you have to put into it. And it's the same with your spirituality. You're going to get out of it more than what you put into it. Promise you that. It's going to be way more rewarding than the effort that you put into it. But there's going to be times where you feel like that effort is just way too much. But the reward is going to be amazing. So don't give up on that. Put in the effort. If you feel like, I don't really want to meditate tonight, wow, that's when you really need it. And you should probably meditate twice as long. If you're committed to maybe 20 minutes every night, and you decide I'm going to skip it tonight, you should do 40 minutes. So think, we're talking about, going through this chaotic bullshit and learning all those lessons. The answers are there. The answers are all out there, but we have to figure them out. There's no finite written down process, but there are tools. And there are people you can talk to. There are podcasts you can listen to. There are books you can read. There's ways of working through anything that you're facing. Absolutely anything. Please send me some examples. Write to me, email me, reach out to me at alignedafpodcast@gmail.com. Send me your questions, send me your concerns, send me your frustrations, send me something you want to bitch about, send me your success stories. I want to hear all of it. And I will respond to you. And maybe you're dealing with something that I have dealt with, or maybe I've known somebody that's dealt with and succeeded, and I can help guide you. And maybe I'm not the person you need to talk to, but that doesn't mean stop trying. It's worth the effort to get through this stuff. It's worth the effort to find the answers. You already have all that wisdom inside you. The key is finding out where it is. And beating your high self up about all that isn't going to do you any good. First of all, it's impossible. But it's not going to do any good to bitch and complain about it. So find a way. Everything you can think of. And reach out and try to find ways that you haven't thought of. And try them. And make peace with your high self. Your high self is not actually separate from you. So stop thinking about your high self as some floating entity, untouchable being that's, out there in the ethers, just kind of watching you stumble your way through this shit. Okay? They are you, and you are them. But they're you without limiting beliefs and without self-doubt. All that stuff that I don't know if we've earned it, but we've owned it as human beings. The limiting beliefs, the self-doubt that we've owned through years, decades of life. And it's okay to start to let that shit go so that we can kind of unveil our high self. Peel away those outside layers that we've used sometimes as armor to protect ourselves. But you don't have to protect yourself from you. You don't have to protect yourself from what it is that you truly are in your authentic energy and what you are striving to, I'll say become, but really what we're trying to do is get back to this high self energy, this original thought, this first idea of who and what we really, really, truly are. Nothing's going to fix it for you overnight. It's not going to happen that way. And the sooner you come to terms with that, the sooner you'll find a way to be happy about it. If they swooped in to save us every single time we needed help, we just wouldn't evolve. So they're not going to hand us the answers because part of the journey is the discovery. Like I said before, it's kind of like giving a kid the answers to the test instead of actually letting them learn. Is it annoying? Yeah. Is it necessary? Yeah, it is. It's very necessary. So how do we work with our high selves instead of against them? Well, first of all, we need to ask better questions. So instead of what should I do, maybe we should try what's my next best step. It's so common for us to sit in prayer and say, Lord, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. And then the bargaining starts. Tell me what to do, and I promise I'll go to church every single Sunday, and I'll give to charities, and I'll treat people better. And the truth is, well, first of all, some of that shit you should be doing already. You shouldn't have to bargain it to get your spiritual ID card or anything. You're looking for a passport to your high self, but you're not willing to take the steps to get there. So your question should be, what are my next steps? Because that breaks it down. That breaks it down into much easier to process moments. Not how do I get there, but what step can I take today to help? And sometimes the first step is just asking that question. And then, You take small steps. You become aware of some of the things that you're saying. You become aware of some of the choices that you're making. And the awareness is a step. And then maybe the next time you're noticing that awareness, you're saying, geez, I noticed that I made this step the other day, and now here I am doing it again. What can I do differently? And then you shift the way you're looking at it. You shift the way you're reacting to it. And then maybe you actually shift the step, and maybe you make a little bit better choice. Doesn't have to be huge. Doesn't need to be earth-shattering. Just needs to be a little bit better. And that's part of the learning process. And then celebrate it with your high self. Celebrate, say, hey, I appreciate you being there. I appreciate you guiding me on finding the next step. I think I took one today. And I want you to know it's making a difference. So what's my next step? And what's my next step? You're not going to get them all at once, but if you get them one at a time, quite honestly, you're doing better than a lot of people. Also listen to your body. We talked about the synchronicities. Your intuition intuition isn't just your thoughts, It's a gut feeling. It's physical sensations in your body. It's emotional responses. Pay more attention to that stuff, because that intuition, that synchronicity is speaking to you in volumes. It's screaming at you from across the universe to pay attention in this moment. Pay attention in this moment, because something is going on. Take that moment and sit with it. You see 222 on the phone? Stop. What am I supposed to learn right now? It doesn't have to have a 222 message. That was just to get my attention. So what am I doing? What am I thinking? What is going on around me? Whatever it might be. What is it that I just need to pay attention to right now? And don't put your high self on a pedestal. Your high self is not above you. It is you. Okay? You got to trust yourself more. You got to get rid of any self-doubt that you've got left. And that's not easy. I know it's easy to say, let it go, let it go. No. You gotta stop doubting yourself. And that's, again, not easy, especially if you've been doing it most of your life. But that's another one of those things that can do in small steps, where maybe you have a thought and then your next thought is, well, that's stupid. I shouldn't do that. Bring yourself right back and say, wait a minute, is it stupid? Why did I say it was stupid? Why do I feel that way about myself, about any of the thoughts that I may be having in this moment? What if I did do that? Or what if I did, maybe not that particular thought, but maybe an aspect of that thought? Dig a little deeper into it. Instead of doubting it and casting it aside, give it some thought. And have faith in yourself and your intuition, because that is truly what's going to get you there. There are books out there that are worth reading. There are teachers and gurus out there that are worth listening to. There are mantras worth saying. There are guided meditations worth experiencing. All of that is out there. And all of it's available to you. And it's okay to do it. But ultimately, it's going to be how you process all of the information that you've got to make your own decisions. And that's where you cannot doubt yourself. You have to move forward. So to kind of wrap up because the clock on the wall tells me it's another long podcast. Remember, it's okay to be mad at your high self every once in a while. It's okay to feel that frustration. You're not perfect. They're not perfect. But your high self has got your back because they are you. They are you and you are them. There is no separation. We speak of them in separate terms because it's easier for our human brains to comprehend. But we are one. My high self is me. I am my high self. That's a mantra, okay? I am my high self. I am my high self. That is me. That is me. So instead of wanting to punch your high self in the mouth, which I get, I've been there many times, but instead of that, try seeing them as your partner in crime, okay? Try seeing them as they're the ones that are there with you and for you for your entire lifetime. And so the next time you're frustrated at your high self and you're yelling out your frustrations into the ethers, remember that you're yelling at yourself. So maybe you should just go take a nap and call yourself even, So that's it for today. Please remember that everything that I share here is based on my own experiences and my own opinions. I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I am not a medical professional. And if you believe you need help, you should go get it in some way or form. If anything in my podcast rings true for you or sounds like it may resonate with your frequency, please feel free to use it. In the meantime, please reach out. Please share my podcast with your friends, with your family, with people you want to annoy. Share it with everybody because we're not alone in this, but there are a lot of people out there that think they are. And that's really the reason I'm doing this. I'm not making any money on this podcast, folks. And that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because it's time to talk and it's time to get some ideas out there that may help somebody. And if this helps one person, it was worth every effort that I put into it. So please share, send me messages, send me notes, make comments on my YouTube channel, text me through one of the podcast platforms that you listen through, or send me an email at alignedafpodcast@gmail.com. I appreciate each and every one of you being here and listening. I know that I tend to talk a lot, and if you made it to the end, God bless you. I appreciate that. And, if you didn't, try to come back. Of course, if you didn't make it to the end, then you're not hearing me say try to come back. But I'm sending it out into the ethers. Come back and listen. Check out my other episodes and check out the ones I've got coming, because my next one, I promise you, my next one is going to be, I've made that promise, but my wife is going away for a week, so maybe it won't be. But I've got some interviews coming up, one with my wife Alara, one with my son Orion, and the spirituality of Minecraft. Then I'm going to be recording one with a young woman by the name of Maddie Morale. I'm sorry, I'll get this right. I'm sorry, Maddie. It's Maddie Rivera. On grief and how spirituality can help you through that process. And we've got a lot more coming, a lot more interviews and a lot more really cool topics. And I would love it if you send me ideas, questions about this or any other episode. I'm always available to you. I promise you, I may not respond immediately, but I will respond. Okay? So take care of yourselves. Remember that even when it's messy, you're getting closer to Aligned AF every single day. Take care now. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today. If this episode spoke to you at all, share it with a friend or someone who needs it. You can also leave a review or connect with me online. You can find Aligned AF on YouTube, Facebook, your favorite podcast channel, or at alignedaf.org. And if you want to reach out directly, you can email me at alignedafpodcast@gmail.com. So until next time, stay aligned AF.